Previously on the European LCS. The question, of course, can Giants take on the Russian powerhouse that is Gambit Gaming?
Giants, the ultimate wildcard team. No one knows what they're gonna bring.
It's gonna be Genjatrot! The Giants Gaming Spaniards are gonna take down the Russian overlords, throwing out the first big upset.
You cannot say more about how well the Giants played.
The real story about this one is that Copenhagen Wolves, they're rooted to the bottom of the European LCS. Going 0-5 now in the first 2 weeks. It's not a good position they want to be in. So they've got a lot of work to do. But at least they can look forward to next week where they will have...
Bjergsen is back, their superstar in the mid.
So they've got a full roster, full lineup. Can they finally get some wins on the board?
Welcome everyone to Cologne, Germany, and thanks for tuning in as we kick off Week 3 of the European League of Legends Championship Series. I'm your host Eefje Schoks de Portere, and we can't wait to get into today's matches. Coming up, Gambit gets a chance at revenge versus Giants. The Copenhagen Wolves take on Against All Authority, and Fnatic battles Evil Geniuses in a superstar matchup. But in our first match of the day, our Season 1 champions Fnatic take on the Wolves to get one step closer to lifting the majestic Summoners Cup. Before we get into that game, let's hear from our commentators Lee D-Man Smith and Jason Kaplan for a recap of last weekend's matches. So D-Man and Jason, were there any surprising results for you guys last week?
Yes, I mean, there was, of course. There was Dragonborns.
Yeah, that was...
Who else? Beating the SK Gaming. SK Gaming looking strong in the League of Legends Championship Series, but Dragonborns, you know, in their first week showing, managed to take them down. What are they going to have into surprise for us as the weeks progress? And really, that was the big shock.
Yeah, that really was. I mean, SK was talking about throughout the entire couple of weeks how they can't close out games, and it kind of showed right there as Dragonborn just, you know, they got a hold early on, and they kept that, and they kept clawing their way further and further into the lead until they ended up taking that game. But in terms of what we're going to see out of Dragonborns in the future, Shushe is one of those players where he can, you know, kind of play anything. You can surprise. We saw Vi middle in the LCS, and that caught, you know, people completely off guard. We might see that, you know, yet again over the next couple of weeks. I wouldn't be too surprised because in the NA LCS, don't want to spoil anything, but we see a lot of Vi over there.
We do see a lot of Vi over there. Easy for me to say. Let's check out the results, though, from last week. As you can see on your screens, Evil Geniuses, they did beat Dragonborns. That was Dragonborns' first game of the League Championship Series. Copenhagen Wolves, of course, lost to SK Gaming.
And then Against All Authority in their debut match went down to Gambit, BenQ, and then Evil Geniuses taking that win over SK, which, I mean, it wasn't as exciting of a match as I thought it would be, but still, Evil Geniuses with a very solid...
Let's be truthful. Saturday was boring as hell last week. We're hoping it gets a little bit better, but of course day 2 was when the results really happened, and you can see them. It was Evil Geniuses. They did beat Giants, but that was a pretty good game. But SK Gaming, there it is, losing to Dragonborns. That was their second game, and really a big upset for SK and a big upset for Ocelot. Yeah, very true indeed. And then we had Gambit end up taking a win over Copenhagen Wolves, Ozone Giants as well, and you know, the Wolves not looking too strong, 0-5 so far. I mean, we did see over in NA LCS a couple of teams finally picking up some wins. Not going to say the teams just yet. You can check them out yourself. But, you know, we might finally see the Wolves take their first game with, you know, Bjergsen, because he's the big story today. Well, we can only hope so. Let's check out the standings as they are currently. You can see 0-5 Copenhagen Wolves. They have to try and pick themselves up a win. But up the top of the tables, it's Evil Geniuses. They've got just one game this week, and it is against Fnatic. Can they go 6-1? There's many other results. There's a lot of teams that really looking to pick up wins this week. So it's going to be interesting to see who can manage to claw the way up there. Will we see Fnatic maybe going into a 4-1? Who knows? They have 2 games today. There's a lot of action for those guys. Of course, you can check out all the stats and watch every single game that's happened in the League Championship Series on lolesports.com. That's going to be the North American and EU. Of course, remember to use the tab at the top. You can switch between the 2 different countries. So what do we have for you today? Well, starting out the day, it is going to be the Wolves versus Fnatic. That is going to be our big first game, and Gambit versus Giants. That's a rematch that really is going to be an interesting one to watch. Of course, Giants beating Gambit last time they met. Yeah, it's really going to be a really tough grudge match. And then we have Against All Authority going to be playing against the Copenhagen Wolves, and that is going to pretty much guarantee that we're going to have one team out of the 2 that's finally going to get their first win of LCS. It's going to feel really good for them. And then, of course, EG versus Fnatic, which should be such a stellar match. It really should be. It's the big closing match of the day, of course. And really, it's It's going to be an interesting one because last time they met was a long, long time ago, back in DreamHack. If you remember, DreamHack Winter 2012. So that was December time? Was it November? Maybe? I think it was November.
Long time ago.
It was a long time ago. So they really haven't met in an offline competition in a long, long time. But of course, Gambit, that's the big one for me. Gambit versus Giants today. Will they manage to turn things around?
Well, anything's obviously possible. We've seen them, at very low ends in terms of not playing well, but then the next day they come back with this amazing gameplay. It really just comes down to, I guess, what they want to take away from the Giants, because we know them as playing certain champions, and they probably saw what they did wrong last time, and they'll probably fix it this time.
Well, we've got a lot of great games for you today, and we want to hear what you have to say about them. So here is Shox to explain it all to you.
Yes, as always, you can reach us on Twitter, and today we are asking you which LCS team shows the most potential. So it doesn't have to be a team that racked up a lot of wins already. If you say, well, I think this team is going to raise the bar today and is going to get there at the end of the season. Tell us who you think at LOL Esports on Twitter, #LCS. And remember, you can also shoot over your questions for our casters right here in the studio. We'll respond to your tweets later in the show. Now, after this short break, the Fnatic returns to the stage after a well-deserved weekend off. Let's see if they're rested and able to take down the Copenhagen Wolves, or if the Wolves are ready to grab their much-needed first victory. All when we come back.
think it's important to start the season well, not even like start, but it's important to win every game. But still, I think there will be the teams in the league that will adapt for the league system better, because it's an unusual system. And those teams, for example, unknown teams, can really win the league. It's more important to prepare for directly for the teams you're playing, and you can prepare for it the whole week and just catch team with some unexpected strategy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. First up for today, it's going to be the Copenhagen Wolves versus Fnatic. Jason, we've seen the Wolves take the lead in every single game to date, but they just can't convert it into a win. What do they need to do?
They just need to take a look, or actually, well, experience is one of the major factors in that whole thing. You hear, Asa talk about it all the time in reference to this specifically, but they just need to learn, that next step. Yeah, they can win the early game, but they need to learn where to, pick their fights correctly, where to start taking some even, more crucial objectives, and then kind of use that to take the rest of the game. And, all the teams, all the new teams, I have to say, I believe 4 of the new teams that were brought in this season are having that same problem. It's not just, localized to the Wolves. Yeah,
it's something we've seen. I mean, SK Gaming, we were talking about it right at the start of the League Championship Series. SK Gaming had the same problem. It took them, oh, God, it was the Wolves game they played, and it took them 40 minutes to close that game out when they had pretty much the lead 10 minutes in.
Yeah, they had, I think, a 10,000 gold lead at some point, and they just could not close the game out. But, eventually they did, and they've been working on that. Other teams need to show that same kind of practice.
Well, let's look at team sheets. You can see them on your screen. They are gonna be Copenhagen Wolves. It is Godbro Svenskeren, and of course Bjergsen is back. The youngster just turned 17, the Tess and the Fisio for the Copenhagen Wolves.
And for Fnatic, I mean, Soas, he looks very young in this picture too, I have to say. Cyanide, Xpeke, Yellow Star, and Unrated, and I have to say, Unrated, his smile on that is just so...
Babyface Cyanide as well. You got to think of Babyface Cyanide.
I couldn't think of the right term to use, so I just stopped.
Well, they are all young players, and we can't discount the fact that they are youngsters in this tournament. There's not really, I'm trying to think of the oldest player probably in the League Championship Series. I think it's probably St. Vicious, maybe.
Oh yeah, he's pretty old.
I think it's probably St. Vicious. He's pretty old. He's only like 24.
And yeah, he plays better than half the people in League of Legends. So.
It does indeed. Let's look at the team sheet for the Copenhagen Wolves. You can see Bjergsen is the man we have selected. He's really going to be the one to watch, we feel, today.
Yeah, he's definitely the key player in this, because we don't really know how much they've been practicing together, because they've had Coutard for the last 2 weeks, playing his role. Even in the qualifiers, he played his role. But, I know he's been practicing himself. I know he's been working with his team, and I really am expecting big things from him.
Yeah, and of course, for Fnatic, it is going to be Cyanide we've looked at. Of course, he is the second highest KDA currently for Fnatic. They went 2-1 in the first week, and really, he was the one that opened up the plays. He's the key man coming out the jungles, getting those Baron steals in there as well, getting a couple of Dragon steals, if I recall, as well. He's been really creating things. Obviously, we always talk about Peke, but Cyanide has been really the enabler. If you think back to Katowice, when we see, we've all highlighted the fact that Peke was so dominant. He got that back door in there. Everybody's seen the highlight. But the fact is, if it wasn't for Cyanide keeping Herkybot so busy in the jungle, it would have been a 2v1. They could have gone back and done that.
Yeah, he was really the unsung hero in that. And I mean, you see that happen quite a bit, but doesn't really get focused on too much. But yeah, Cyanide, we'll see if he can make some big plays today and really keep up with the pace he's been pretty much bringing to LCS.
Well, we did manage to catch a word with the teams early on, of course. So let's listen to what they had to say about each other.
Our past tournament record against Fnatic is not very good. We pretty much always lose to them, but they don't have Reckless anymore, so I think the team is weaker than they used to be. And when we get Bjergsen back, who was our star player before the LCS qualifiers, probably still is actually, then we're going to be a lot stronger, and I honestly think we're going to beat them.
Well, how will the Yellow Star take that, eh?
Those are some big words from him, I really have to say, because Yellow Star was the only person to qualify for LCS twice.
Twice, yeah. He's the guy. He's probably the most experienced player on the team, if you think back early against all Authority days, of course, back to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships in CBIT just last year. Pretty much March last year. It's a full year on. It's a crazy year of League of Legends action, but also he was in Season 2 finals, so to say that the most experienced player here in that team is lesser than Reckless, the 16-year-old AD carry, is pretty bold words.
I mean, just to say that Reckless was very impressive when we saw him. I mean, you saw him at IPL 5 playing amazing with his Ezreal. We saw him in quite a few other tournaments. And just overall an exceptional player, you really have to say. So Yellow Star does have a lot of work cut out for him, but he's proven before that he can easily handle it, and he's proven it in LCS so far.
He has proven it already. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about to get underway here, and you can see Championship Select is underway. Of course, we do have that bug, unfortunately, in the picks and bans. We will be able to keep them for you, though. You can see Kassadin was banned out by the Copenhagen Wolves. They didn't want none of that backdoor in action.
Yeah, not out of Xpeke. The Lux as well, which actually can go towards both mid players. They've been practicing that quite a bit. We've seen Froggen playing her quite a bit as well. Even I think even a couple times in NALCS. I'm not 100% sure on that, but overall, very strong champion, very bursty, and if you can land your full combo, you're gonna kill the AD carrier, at least someone squishy on the team.
Well, Kayle and Nidalee also being banned out, so kind of standard bans so far. Let's say Nidalee not really that much of a standard ban.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, we saw Xpeke player mid lane and Katowice with just the poke you can do from the damage. You can really, create an opportunity for your team. You're not about, a hard engage. You're about hitting that one spear to open up a whole team fight for you to make it pretty much a 5-on-4.
There it is, the Thresh ban. You can't quite see it on your screen. It's something we expected to see coming in here. And, the fact that we are on 3.02 Thresh is enabled. We didn't see a great deal of it in the North American League Championship Series over the last 2 days. We saw it, I think, maybe make 1 or 2 appearances.
I think
it was banned quite a few times, but there wasn't that many really that made great use of it. I think the one time it did get picked, they lost.
Yeah, and the one, well, actually, there was also one game with CLG where it wasn't banned or picked, which is kind of interesting to see. And I mean, hopefully we see in the EU LCS just how effective he really can be.
Yeah, and the final ban coming in, it was Vi, so Vi off your screen there. So, looking like Xin Zhao is going to get selected for the Copenhagen Wolves. We will be seeing Sven Skeren on that one. I expect it to be the jungler.
Yeah, we haven't really seen him play that kind of jungler just yet. I mean, he's been playing a little bit of Lee Sin, playing a lot of Cho'Gath lately. So if he can pull something off big here with Xin, it's going to really, kind of create some waves, because Xin is one of those junglers now that's just everyone wants to play. He's either going to be picked or banned most likely because he's so strong, especially if you build that lock of the Iron Solari and then the ultimate on top of that. And it looks like we are going to see a Volibear, which, Dynaprox obviously did make kind of known in week 1 and did exceptionally well with him minus 1 game. But still, that's going to be a really scary when you pair that in with a Shen, because that's already a really tanky lineup. You have a flip, you have a taunt, and if you have some damage to back that up, it's going to be very dangerous to be on the other team.
So what are we expecting Copenhagen Wolves to select against this one? Maybe a top laner. They see that it's going to be Shen. They know that's going to be the top lane. Will they go for the AD carry and support, though?
I wouldn't be surprised to actually see a support come out. If you see how he doesn't play too many champions, actually, well, so far we've seen he's played a lot of Lulu, a lot of Sona, and so Sona's always one of those safe kind of supports you can pick up if you're not exactly sure what the other team is going yet. So I wouldn't be, really surprised. That top lane, I mean, they obviously could pick it up, but maybe they want to lock in an AD carry on top of their support just to secure that bottom lane, security and longevity throughout the entire game.
Well, I'm glad they're going to secure it with longevity and security.
Longevity and security.
It is going to be Singed and Sona looking like it's going to get locked in. Yes, it will do. So maybe, the practice that I just saw Renrated doing with his 5 Doran Blade Sona, they were fearful of that.
That sounds legit. That really sounds legit. But yeah, Singed, he's been getting a lot of play lately in LCS. We've seen Kiwi Kid from Dignitas playing him quite a bit, actually pretty much bossing his lane around every single time. He keeps that lane pushed up, but we'll see how Godbro actually does with him in that top lane. But we do have Leona, we do have Misfortune locked in, a very aggressive bot lane. It's a very strong initiate out of Leona if you can land, if you can thread the needle, as I believe that was Riventon saying. And then you have the taunt, you have the flip behind that. So they have really good control, but they really need a strong AP mid lane right now to round off their entire team. Oh, for Wolves though, they still have the AP mid, they still have their AD carry to pick up here. And it's really going to confirm or really solidify what kind of strategy they're going to go for here, because they have that flip, they have a slow and knock up. But, beyond that, they didn't really have too much yet in terms of damage. But at least being sat on with that percent damage will be very strong. Has a really good mobility. You can use your Repel to get away. You can use your Cocoon as well to CC someone down. But at Tess, I'm thinking he might go for an Angela here, because you need someone with that jump. You need to be able to get away from Leona. You need to be able to get away from
if they do select Elise, what lane is going to be in? Because you'd expect Singed to be the top. Xin Zhao is going to be jungle. Do you think they're going to see a mid lane Elise here?
Yeah, we've seen it happen a couple times. I mean, it's a strong champion. You kind of build a little bit more AP than you normally would in that top lane. But we'll see how well Bjergsen can play it. I mean, I haven't... I talked to him a little bit about the champions he's been practicing on, but I don't know if Elise is necessarily one of them. But then again, she's not really a super hard champion to play. But
exactly,
if you master her, you can do some amazing things.
Qs. Okay, so what do we expect Fnatic to come out here? It's going to be their final mid laner. Twisted Fate, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, that had a lot of CC, really easy ganks on the bottom lane, but he's not really a super strong AP in terms of damage. We've seen Froggen playing him I believe that was last week, and he was just split pushing and just farming up as much as possible. But I don't know. I think they really need some sort of strong AP mid. A reset would actually, that actually would work out extremely well if you can get that one kill. But you have to make sure to go at the right time. But Expect is one of those players where he's so experienced. He knows when to go in. He knows when to get out. And he can really make that work.
Going, yeah. And of course, you know, I'm thinking back to Intel Extreme Masters, the finals. Obviously, we are a year away from it now, just next week. But we see Leona in there. Leona was one of the champions that N-Rated was really famous for. Before Crepo sort of highlighted it, he was the strongest Leona champion player that I can think of.
Yeah, actually, I think I talked to him over this week, and he was saying, you know, he only needs to practice a couple supports because he knows those champions so well that he's not really going to miss his skill shots. He knows exactly what to build, what to rune for exactly, and how to outplay his lane opponent. And Leona's one of those champions which he doesn't, you know, practice too much, but he still is exceptionally good at, just like you're saying, playing him last year over at CBIT. And I'm really, really scared of this bottom lane. That misfortune damage, you have the stacking damage off for W, and then you have the passive damage off Leona. It's really going to put a hurting onto this bottom lane. Well, Wolves, they do have that sustain in their lane because of Sona's heals.
Well, there is the test Deficio on your screen with the babyface Bjergsen just to the right-hand side. And, of course, Dave Natchkin stood behind with an eagle eye, the referee. God, bro, getting himself up. How is this going to work out for him? He kept Kevin so busy in that top lane. He's up against Shen once again. This time he will be on Singe. So what are we seeing in these two-team composition? We're starting to see Volibear pretty much prolifically since Diamond Prox picked it.
Well, I mean, he's just one of those champions that you can farm pretty quickly, if you, depending on what you want to level up necessarily. It kind of really depends, because we saw Diamond Prox leveling up his AoE first to go for some AoE damage in team fights, but you know, with the Shen taunt, with so much CC to go around, he has really easy lane to ganks. But the thing is, you have to point out, which you'll see in a second as we get in the game, he's running teleport on his Volibear. So he's really looking for some really strong ganks and to really catch people off guard, because that's now 2 teleports Fnatic versus the one currently over for Wolves. So that's really going to create a lot of problems for Wolves if they can't really deal with that.
And it always interests me, because we had Peke here obviously last week, and we talked about the fact that teleport, you know, Froggen's mentioned it before, the fact that if you take teleport in their mid lane, you think you're going to lose that mid lane. A Katarina versus an Elise, is that really a lane that he's going to be looking to win, or is basically going to be looking to snowball off the other lanes?
Yeah, the latter of those two, because you're not really going to kill an Elise one-on-one. I mean, yeah, you have the ability to get to her, but she has so much damage and control to lock you down. But, you know, Katarina, I think I have to say, she's one of those mid lane champions that you don't necessarily have to run the Ignite. I mean, you're not necessarily going to lose your lane. You're easily going to keep up, but it's all about how well you snowball in the other lanes. We've seen Alexich on Rise when he runs that teleport just to get those early ganks off in the bot lane, the top lane. He doesn't really need the Ignite to be super strong throughout the entire game, and Rise is all about that late game carry. So is Katarina to some extent, as long as you can get those resets and get into those fights at that right time.
And we see there is a pause at the moment, which is why he's staring at the players, and you can see the multiple headsets they have on their head. You can see he's actually got little white things going into his ears. They are in-ear headphones. He's also got these great big Air Force type looking things on his head. They are to cut out our big gobs, which is what everybody has on. And then they, of course, have their headsets around their necks, which is generally their sponsors, as well as their microphones, which is why you can hear and see N-Rated there. The pause is about to resume on the screen in front of you, so we are about to get the action underway. And there is the test looking straight down in that bottom lane. So, are we going to see anything crazy coming out from level 1? Will it be standard setups? We haven't seen a great deal of crazy action so far in the League Championship Series.
It's been a lot of methodical play on both teams' parts. They want to make sure to ward their initiatives, make sure their jungler can get their farm. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Fnatic wants to go for a level 1, because they have such a strong team composition with all their CC, with the flip, the taunt, the stun. It could be really devastating for Wolves, especially if someone squishy gets caught out here. But I think Wolves just going to have to play defensive, have to concede that level 1 fight if Fnatic does commit to it. But one thing we also should mention is, okay, so Fnatic had a week off. We saw CLG had 13 days off over in LCS, and they kind of came back into the week and didn't look too strong. And then we also had the Test, who had pretty much a week off because he was out on Sunday.
They're going to go straight in. Soaz going to find Svenskeren. Svenskeren may well get away from this one. N-Rated could go for the stun. He forces the flash early on. And it's interesting. I mean, these two teams, they've had a week to prepare. How much do they watch each other's games? Bearing in mind, Fnatic have had 3 games in the LCS already. Copenhagen Wolves have had 5. How much will they research this early level 1 fight?
Well, I mean, obviously quite a bit, as you saw just some aggression come out of Fnatic. They have the advantage of Wolves playing 5 games so far already, even though they're 0-5. They have that knowledge now to look at how they've been winning the early game and kind of counter that. And then Fnatic, who they have a long history together, so you can just look at their games previously. Then again, you know, Season 3 has changed things up a bit. The meta has been evolving quite a bit. You know, when was the last time you saw Volibear pre-LCS? Yeah. Never.
So we do see the start off. Looks like Svenskeren will be around those wolves. The ward placement, of course, did get in towards that red, and we have another pause coming out here. So as it stands, somebody is not ready. And we do see Bjergsen's the one that's having issues, although I see him on the screen. He's looking like he's set up. Maybe it's just a mouse setting, mouse sensitivity. Sensitivity is a huge thing, obviously, for these players, especially when you're playing the skill champions, skill shot champions like Elise. Yeah, it really can throw your game off completely. Just that one missed skill shot late game can pretty much cause you to lose a team fight. But we are seeing a lane switch. If we haven't pointed that out just yet, we see Fnatic sending up their bot lane into the top against Singe. So Godbro is going to have a hard time up there, but luckily for him, he does have that Crystalline Flask, does have a health pot, and that ward, which he needs to put down defensively. He needs to make sure he doesn't get ganked level 3 by Cyanide and by the top lane, obviously. But, you know, in terms of who's going to win this trade overall, I really have to... Oh, actually, we do see... we
see Godbro going straight in towards Enrated to get stunned out there, and he's going to have to take a lot of damage here. Enrated's going to keep the pressure on. Will back away with that poison running. Of course, you do not chase a Singed.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, looking at in terms of level 1, or who wins this lane switch overall, it's going to depend, obviously, on how Fnatic and Wolves deal with it, if they're going to try to get an early turret or not. But assuming they don't go for early turrets, and they're just trying to deny the other opponent, I think Godbro's going to have the harder time here, as long as Fnatic doesn't let him get that free farm later on once that turret goes down. They're going to, you know, if they don't keep him in check in the top lane, he's going to farm up and be a really strong force to reckon with, or to fight pretty much. But SOAS, you know, he should have a decent time farming under turret. He does have that, you know, range disadvantage. But still, I mean, he's Shen. He has sustain in lane. He has a red pot and four health pots on top of that, so he can really keep his health up in lane and keep that farm up.
So we do see them staying out. Saw a pink ward going down as well there from Enrated. Obviously spotted out
I love that ward.
Svenskeren had put, I think Svenskeren had come to put it up there, and it's also looks like it's enabling Cyanide to possibly take a look in this top lane early on. We can see him. It's going to go around. We are at that 3.5 minute mark. It's the standard time. These guys got to expect it.
Oh, we do have, though, Svenskeren coming up towards the top, so you know something's up, but that was such a good pink ward that you mentioned that Enrated put down. The gank is going down the top lane. Godbro's going to be very careful here.
He's going in for it. Ghost was popped there, but Svenskeren does come around. It's Svenskeren, and now it is the target, and they will be first blood. But Enrated gets flipped in towards the turret. He didn't lay down any damage. He is going to walk away with low hit points, and now Godbro is into all sorts of trouble. Cyanide's going to get in there. He has got the flip back up. The cooldown will be available. He goes, rushes in for it. Yellowstar's going to land another shot. It will be the double kill, and there is Yellowstar picking it up.
Such a great play out of Fnatic to start this game off completely. They knew that word would go down out of Godbro, and pretty much that entire advantage was opened up by Enrated. Towards the bottom side, though, SOAS did manage to get a taunt onto Deficio under his turret, so he got some damage onto him, but it's a Sona. You know, she can obviously heal it right back up. The Test can afford to take a couple of turret hits as well, just to kind of make the healing worth it in the end, you know, the mana use. But now 1 kill over to Yellowstar and 1 kill over to 2 Cyanide. It's really going to give them a strong advantage, but we'll see how well they can capitalize off of that.
And I think I saw Enrated purposely taking the hit, putting the hit on towards Svenskeren first, so the tower hit would go on to him first. Very nicely done, and this bottom tower is going to go down, though. Copenhagen Wolves really pressured the bottom, and they did manage to get first tower of the game.
Yeah, great job by them to at least counter the first 2 deaths going towards that top side, but now it's that crucial point where if they're going to lane switch, they have to be really careful on who they let farm up completely. Do the Wolves feel confident enough, or not confident and comfortable enough? Wow, I can't even speak today. English is very hard for me, but do they feel comfortable enough to take on this Leona and this Misfortune lane? Because they really can blow up Deficio if he does get, you know, 1 step out of line.
One thing I would question, though, is well, obviously we're seeing Peke in the middle here, actually. He's going to get dived on. He should be able to walk away from this one. Has to use the flash. We see the teleport coming in now, and you can see repelling straight away Bjergsen there, so teleport was cancelled straight out. It was Cyanide that was coming in, so that's not going to be available for a short period of time. But what I was about to mention was I wasn't sure whether maybe Peke could have teleported at the start to maybe get the snowball going early on.
He could have, but I mean, if he falls behind levels early on against an Elise, and if he doesn't get any kills or an assists on top of that, he's really going to fall so far behind that it'll give Wolves a really big advantage. But, you know, change this up just a little bit. I really love what Fnac's doing in this top lane right now. They're leaving their AD carry support there, and we see a pink ward in the tri-bush over on Wolves' side. So they're really trying to create some opportunities to shut Singe down completely. And if they do that, they can easily take the mid and late game. It's all about how well he can farm, how well Godbro can be a nuisance to the enemy team.
But clever placement from Deficio there. If you just noticed, he planted it around the corner of the tri-bush, so the pink ward didn't spot it. So you know there's a ward there, and they can't clear it out.
Yeah, and he can see anyone coming in from that that Riverside. So yeah, great job by him being very aware of what was happening. But then we do have the gank on this bottom side. Sven Scarson just waiting on the side, trying to go in for Soaz. Soaz with that red pot with flash up. I don't think they're actually going to be able to get a kill here.
Well, teleport is available for Peke. Remember, he can join the fight at any time. Sven's going and thought about going for it, but he will back away and buy his first items. Of course, he just had potions. What will he pick up? I'm guessing it's going to be a Giant's Belt of some form. There it is. What a shock.
That's like a 99% chance to guess right. Giant's Belt on Shen. Let's go for it. But we do have Sanad visiting the top side. We do have Enrated going in with the Shen ultimate.
Enrated has gone in, gone aggressive. He's taking the stoke. Stan United comes in as well. They're onto Diffusio. Lots of turret damage coming in. It's a 5-man pile-on party for Fnatic in the top. And there is the double kill for Peke that I was talking about.
Yeah, that's the snowball he needs right now. He already has an Amptoon with that 41 CS. He's keeping in touch with that mid lane. We do have a Dragon potentially going to be started off to kind of cancel out that turret being gone, but still the damage is done. Picking up those 2 kills, picking up a turret on top of that. It's really creating a nice gold lead for Fnatic.
And there you go. So Peke has returned to that mid lane, going to keep the pressure on. They realize, of course, that the Dragon will go down. They're going to try and pressure on. Yeah. They're going to continue down on towards the inner turret.
On their part, they might lose the second turret on the top side, and that would be completely counterproductive for them, but it looks like we will have Sona and Caitlyn return back to that lane in time. Oh, actually, they might just straight up get it and even dive them if they're going to stick around.
Well, it's a 4-man push, and there it is. Stan United comes in. The test gets called out, gets flipped out, gets the exhaust down. Cyanide will finish him off, and that was the test going down, and that surely might be the inner turret getting reacted to, and that could well be devastating for the Wolves. You know, they were good, they were wise to go for the Dragon, but honestly, I'm not sure if it's working out. They're continuing to push the bottom lane, though, so they might be able to counter this.
Yeah, that's kind of the smart play. They have to do that right now. We do have Expected going to be coming in from the side, but, you know, touching on real quick what we saw right there, Cyanide. That's why Volibear is so strong. That W out of him, that Nom, which does more damage the lower they are, it really can catch people off guard because you're not prepared for that much burst damage to come down. The same thing with Cho'Gath.
Well, it does look like the Fnatic are now going for the blue buff. They're going to try and get the invade in there. Cyanide does manage to pick that one up. Yellow Star with him. Of course, immediate counter. Copenhagen Wolves go for the blue buff of Fnatic, and they are going to get in there, and that's going to be Diffusio helping out. Oh, sorry, it's going to be Bjergsen that will pick that up. And that is going to be everyone backing off now. So 5-0 for Fnatic, 2-1 in turrets. The gold advantage currently with Fnatic, of course, with those kills and turrets helping out.
And Demon, taking a look at items just to take stock of what's happening. And Fnatic is just starting to snowball really hard just on their tanks alone. Soaz has a Giant Spell, has a Dorn Shield. He's sitting on 1,700 health. And then Cyanide, who's been jungling, he's just been around the map this entire time creating these opportunities, is sitting at almost 1,500 gold, almost has that Sunfair cape done as well. That's really going to create a problem that the test can't deal with on Caitlyn until you have that last Whisper, maybe even a Bloodthirster and a Static Shiv on top of that. But they're just so tanky at this point that Fnatic can force these team fights and really force Wolves to kind of react to it, but the Wolves don't have the damage just yet to handle it, so they have to stall the game as much as possible.
So it does look like there's a move around. We see the wards going in towards the Tribush on the bottom lane. That's helping out. So as he's continuing to push that bottom lane, so he's going to keep the split push on there. Sunfire Cape nearly built, picked up by Cyanide as well. So the Giants belt starting to stack out. We do see Cyanide in that top lane at the moment, but yeah, look at the CS. Oh, we do see a dive here on towards Bjergsen. Is it going to be enough? One more hit should finish it off. Can they flash through? Oh, he's repelled, but he's going to land back down there. He's going to be picked up. It's Peke that gets it. Oh, and he manages to Shumpo away as well.
Oh, in the meantime, he actually had a kill go down in the top lane.
1-for-1 kill from Cyanide on towards the AD carry. That's not a good sign.
And he took no damage from that either. I mean, his passive is still currently up. But you were trying to touch on the CS real quick before we got into that fight in the middle lane. But looking over at Godbro, 33 CS to his counterpart, so as 66. And then you have those 3 assists on Shen as well. That's not a really good sign for him at this point.
Well, this is a worrying start for Wolves because normally they always win out the lane phase. That's something we've talked about. But as it is, they've not really had a chance to. Fnatic have kept them on the toes, kept the chaos going, as it were. We saw with, obviously, Gambit versus Giants and Gambit earlier on. That's going to be following this game, and that was a chaotic match. And as it is, Fnatic seem to be keeping the flow going nicely. A very aggressive play from them, something we haven't seen a lot of in the LCS.
And the thing is, this was all created by one little ward, one pink ward out of Enrated. Got that early kill on the top lane. They kept snowballing that. They had Expected come in and pick up a couple of kills. And just that one ward, that's why they're so important, can really create these opportunities that allow Fnatic to be so far ahead. Cyanide, though, you check him out on your screen. He's just waiting around the corner, trying to make a play onto the test and really deny him some farm, as he actually could potentially get caught out here defending the Wolves, but
it's going to be a dive
on the bottom lane.
It's the bottom lane dive. There's the ghost pops, and that's going to force Godbro to get away. Cyanide staying in that top lane. He's just camping it out. If it was Counter-Strike, he would be Camper Noob would be being shouted out, but as it stands, he is just forcing the Tess away. And really, it's starting to play into their hands because Yellowstar is free to just run around, put the pressure on the turrets wherever he pleases, and the Tess is forced to stay in his own base.
I think that spot just felt just right to him as he stayed there for a good couple of minutes, but we do have Bjergsen coming in from the side. I don't really think he can take Cyanide on. As we see the Shumpo coming out, he doesn't know what's coming.
He's going to get the Shumpo. The Stand United comes down. He's going to have to repel away, but he will drop exactly where he stands, and that's immediately straight away taunted out. And Cyanide picks up another kill. Peke comes around. The Tess taken solo, flashes through, picks up a kill. Shumpo's back across on towards Godbro. Godbro running for his life. Remember, he's already used Ghost, and the Peke is going to continue driving it on. Down the bottom lane as well, they're going to continue driving on the turrets. Fnatic starting to shred the Copenhagen Wolves. The poor little puppies are back in their cages.
I know, if Teleport coming back onto this top side, they want to take this turret down ASAP. It's already 9-0, and the goal lead is insane at this point. Fnatic looking so solid, like that whole week of rest they had. They used to train.
We thought it may well be a difference. We saw it with CLG, of course, in the North American leagues. They struggled with their week off, but Fnatic seem to have used it to great example. So as being chased on, flippity-floppity from Cyanide. He gets flipped. He gets the turret hit. He could go down, the ace in the hole, but no, he still stands around. Finally, the 500 gold kill goes across to Godbro.
But it just seems a little bit too late. I mean, that's Singe. You need that gold on them. But look what they lost throughout the entire thing. They lost that bottom turret because Yellowstar was just pushing the entire time. They lost a couple of kills on the top side. And Wolves, I mean, they picked up their first kill. They can't come back. All they do is just keep farming up, keep that gold coming in. But with the way Fnatic's kind of starving them out right now, they're taking away jungle. They're keeping all these lanes pushed in against them. It's really going to be hard for Wolves to get to that point.
Well, while this is all happening, Peke has got himself ahead in farm. He's got 4-0 in kills. He is a dangerous machine on Katarina, and that teleport has been used to prime example so far.
And that just shows how strong of a summoner spell that is. I mean, even if you plan to lose your lane, quote unquote, you can still make use out of it, going into the other side and picking up those kills where you can come back into mid lane and just say, hey, I just got 4 kills. You got nothing. I can pretty much take you on 1v1. But now it looks like trying to create some mid lane pressure here while the other lanes push out.
And just look at the ward placement for the Fnatic have out on the map. They have absolutely got it covered. The whole blue side and red side completely warded out. They have vision of every buff, every attempt. There's Yellowstar clearing out the blue buff once again, so that's the second blue buff of the game that they've managed to steal away. Now that's keeping the pressure on this mid turret, but Yellowstar is free to farm while Wolves are just having to stack up and defend.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, Yellowstar actually kind of fell behind in terms of CS, but with this ability to just push that top lane, he's able to farm and catch up. But, Wolves trying to make a play on the mid lane. They have all 5 members there. They still have Yellowstar pushing on their top lane, so they're going to need to deal with that soon. If they don't go for this turret, they're going to end up losing, quite a bit more.
Well, we do see Yellowstar making his way down, and immediately Wolves having to back off. The Dragon is up, and they could make a move for it here. They're going to try and ward it out and see if they can pick anything up. They do manage to clear out some of the wards, but they don't have, of course, any oracles. The glue goes down, and it is going to be Peke Shumpoing straight onto the ward the moment he gets placed. They do clear it out. They put the pink ward down. They're going to start the Dragon out. What are Wolves going to do to respond to this?
They can't. I mean, it's unfortunate. They really can't create an opportunity to go for this Dragon and kind of steal it away. They just need to push out that top lane and just get as much farm as possible. They could have punished them by getting that mid turret down as ASAP. But with just the ward coverage, with how much damage Fnatic has, that Dragon wasn't going to stay alive long enough for them to do that.
So here we go. 4-1 in turrets. 24,000, nearly shy of 25,000 here. Gold. Big advantage to Fnatic currently against 18.5. And we do see double Sunfire Capes. A lot of damage now stacking up for Fnatic.
And the Wolves, I mean, they're in a really sticky situation, but if they pick up an Oracle and gain control back of their jungle, they can easily open this game right back up. Because Enrated got those 4 assists, even has 16 CS, he has so many wards available to use, and with all these turrets going down, all the objectives they're getting, his gold just keeps increasing as much as possible. He's at 4,000 gold to his counterpart who's at 3,000, and that is so many wards, and it creates so many opportunities for your team if you can use them effectively, which he has been doing, but he does go in.
He dives straight in there, and a flash comes straight out, but it's going to be bullet time. Flashed across, Enrated is going to get taken very very low and dropped by the turret there. Bjergsen picks up the kill. Soaz, though, goes straight in and takes down Bjergsen. They are back onto the turret. It will be an inner turret for Fnatic. So despite the fact they've gone 1 for 1, they will pick up yet another objective.
Yeah, 1 for 1. They got the turret, and they lost their support for the mid lane of Wolves. That was a really good trade on their part, and they can be very aggressive still. They can push up these turrets if they want to, but the thing is you have to be very careful. You have a Crescendo, obviously not available right now on Deficio, and you also have that flip on Godbro, so if someone does get out of position, they easily will just drop to the damage that Wolves can put out even at this point.
So we see Yellowstar picking up the red buff. Bottom lane pushed in, top lane pushed in, mid lane pushed in. It's 6-1 in turrets. All of the inner and outer are down for Wolves, and they are in desperation mode, trying desperately not to go 0-6 in this League Championship Series, but it's not looking good for them right now. How will they turn this around? Have they really got the ability to maybe turtle this one out with a 8,000 gold differential?
They don't have great wave clearing potential. All they really have is that Caitlyn to really do the damage throughout the entire waves. If Godbro overextends trying to get the poison onto the creeps, he easily can be taken out instantly because he doesn't really have too much health just yet. Fnatic, they're building even more tanky just because they want to go for these turrets if they want to dive under them. I mean, Wolves, they do have potential to do it, and if they get a couple of kills, they can easily get the snowball back in their own favor because you have that Singe, you have Elise who just does an insane amount of damage even without any items, and then you have Caitlyn who's going to start, getting that first big item built up. Then again, you have Yellowstar has a Bloodthirster, and we did see actually Soaz back. He picked up tier 1 boots, and now he's working towards that Warmog. So if he wasn't tanky enough before, he has 2,500 health. He's going to have that Warmog on top of that, the health regen. It's really hard to deal with him. Luckily for them, he doesn't have a lot of magic resist, so Bjergsen will do a lot of damage, but they do go in onto him.
They put everything onto Soaz, and well, he just takes it and shadow dashes away. We saw Nick Godbro trying to go in there. The teleport comes in. It's going to be Peke. It's going to be Cyanide, but flipped straight away. Nicely done. Sunflower comes out. They flip him back in there, and Godbro goes down. Tanky or not, it's going to be a dead Singed.
That really was a great play by Wolves, though, to engage that because they knew it was a 5-on-3. Which is unfortunate for them. They didn't have the damage they needed to kill Soaz because that just alone that giant spell gave them the health they needed to really survive. But if they would have picked him off, they easily would have had that fight in their favor. And now they're going to be pressured here on this top turret. They really can't afford to let it go, but they kind of have to with how low it is already.
Well, here we go. They're going to dive in. There's nothing they can do to stop this turret going down. You can see Cyanide tried to make a play there, but couldn't quite get close enough to test. Trying desperately to keep some damage on them, but it's not happening. Can they pick up any extra kills? No. Fnatic have disengaged very well.
And they still have, Fnatic not as many wards as earlier, but still a lot of ward coverage in the enemy jungle. They're really keeping the pressure on. We do have Wolves trying to go for engage here onto Yellowstar, but I'm not sure if they can actually catch him.
No, they didn't. Instead, Enrated just ballsy held out and teleported back there. Everybody else, you can't catch a Misfortune, really. Once that strut kicks in, she's gone.
And yeah, we have no Shirelles currently over for Wolves. They do have the speed increase off of Sona, obviously, but not really going to be enough. And we still don't even have the lock of the Iron Solari done for Svenskerissen just yet, which is pretty much a core item on Jungle Xin Zhao.
So everybody goes back, spends chunks of their gold, their big gold advantage, 9,000 now. And again, you see the wards all placed around them, perfectly positioned to potentially go for Baron should they require it.
Yeah, and they're starting to show that they want to go for it because you have Soaz pushing the bottom lane. He has that ultimate available. We do have a pink ward, actually 2 pink wards on Cyanide right now, so they want to clear out any kind of vision. And the thing is, they don't really have to go for Baron, but it'll just give them that much more to really take the Wolves down, to really start diving under these turrets. They have the top inhibitor available if they want to go for it, and I wouldn't be too surprised if they go for that right after this right after this Baron.
Yep, Stan United is available, so if Soaz wants to join in, he can just ultimate in there. And they do start the Baron off and peel straight off. They're going to go for the bait. They're going to set it up. They're going to set for it. They're trying to bait it out, trying to guess it. They're not seeing Soaz back off, though, so Godbro, with that teleport available, he can join the party whenever he pleases. They do need some wards for him to get in on, though. And that's exactly what Wolves are trying to do. We've seen this before. They do manage to put the Leona ultimate. It's Bjergsen that got caught out there. Immediately gets flipped back into the team, repels away, tries to join his team. There's not a lot of concentrated damage, but there's Peke. He comes through, gets the 1, gets the 2nd, trying to go towards Svenskeren. That's going to be Yellowstar that picks up the kill. Shadow Dash straight on towards Godbro. Godbro goes down. It's a triple kill for Peke.
And that just shows how much...
the poison. He just survives.
And that just shows how well Fnatic's been preparing. We were talking earlier in the pregame about, the research that each team could do against each other. And Fnatic, they knew that Wolves were so strong early game, and they completely shut that down this time. Just shows how well prepared they are and just how great they are at doing that.
So that is the inhibitor down. Ace in the hole comes through, and Rated just shields it. Didn't even break the shield. Don't sit there nodding at me.
There's no health on.
No, there's no health on that. No. But it didn't get through it. It's all good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the test unfortunately doesn't have too much damage just yet. Doesn't have Affinity Ledge done. So he's just overall not having a good time this game. But we do have an Oracle Elixir picked up for Cyanide. I mean, it's going to give him extra control in the jungle. It's going to really deny vision. But the thing is, they have the top lane pushing. They can all group up towards the bottom side, let Shen push the mid lane, or even the top just to go for those Nexus turrets. And Fnatic looking very strong right now to shut this game out completely. Or actually, sorry, to finish this game.
Well, look at it. 1-0-9 for SOAS, 5-1-6 for Cyanide, 7-0-3 for Peke, 2-0-10 for Yellow Star, and the feeder of the team is Enrated 0-1-9. I
don't think he's going to be able to feed too much more, though, with with his random, it's almost done. He has so much health. He's not even going for boots. I mean, he's just counting on that solo for to land just to be their strong initiate for his team. Doesn't have a Shurelius either to help them get in, but, you know, he's been pretty much spot on, minus the last one, which, you know, it wasn't a bad one because it really separated the Wolves, but it didn't hit anyone.
It didn't, but it managed to do its job, and again, looks like the Baron will get started off. Teleport not available for Peke just yet. Will be up in a couple of seconds, though, so he'll be joining it in a moment. He's picking out the red buff, and it does look like Fnatic are not going to get touched on this one. I don't think Copenhagen Wolves can compete with this one, and they realize it. They're just desperately hoping that Fnatic managed to throw something.
I mean, we've seen bigger throws before. I mean, in the SK Fnatic games, we've seen that happen a couple times out of SK, but it always is a possibility. At least they're going to secure a lot of farm from that top lane because the Supermans are going to be constantly pushing it in. But Fnatic, I mean, they don't even have the money to buy anything right now. They still have Xpeke towards the bottom side, just trying to create an opportunity right there. As you see, you know, 3 members of Wolves trying to get those minions down. But, you know, take a look at levels overall. We have Godbro with level 12. We have SOAS level 14. We have Sven Harrison at 10 compared to the 12 of Cyanide. We have level 12 for Bjergsen to the 15 of Xpeke. The Test at 11, Yellowstar at 13, and then even Deficio at level 9 to the level 11. That's easy for me to say, of Enrated. So that just shows they've been starving them from gold, but they've also been starving them out of XP.
Yeah, and that obviously equates to basically equivalent of having an item when you're that many levels ahead. It certainly does a lot of damage. Those skills are going to be much harder hitting. And Cyanide doing a little dance in front of the front wave there.
I can just hear him saying yellow in my head. Does he dancing away?
As it is, we do see Cyanide. Can he get in there? Can he get a poke on them? They have quite a scary engage, honestly. You get that Shadow Dasher Crash flipped, you're going to be in amongst the team before you know it. And Cyanide is trying to bait the damage out. Of course, they are both so tanky right now with the Sunfire Caves and the Giant's Belts. Warmog's almost complete for both of them.
Yeah, all they're doing is just waiting for those Supermans to push that top side. The Tests have to go back and deal with it, so they should be able to get this turret, or at least drop it down to a 3rd health on this next wave. As Cyanide maybe even going to tank a couple of hits here. Xpeke does get caught, but I mean, he's not really too scared. Yeah, he dropped half health, but with that Baron buff, he's going to regen it completely.
And Ready tried to go in there. Of course, super minions now coming in the top lane. Bottom lane also has minions shoving along, so Fnatic finally have their chance, have their time. And Wolves realize it. They're trying to be defensive, trying to be aggressive. They do catch Cyanide out. SOAS goes in, doesn't manage to taunt anyone up though.
Yeah, the thing is, the Wolves, they need to engage, but they can't really afford to do it when Fnatic has Baron buffs. They need to wait for it to dissipate away, but the thing is, they might lose 2 or 3 inhibitors because of that, and there's really not a point.
They've managed to go in, they've got the Shadow Dash across, the turret goes down, they flip Godbro once again. He is the highest hit point person though. Enrated still hanging on in. Bullet time comes across, Repel from Bjergsen, easy for me to say, does go down, not going to get away. It's a double kill for Peke, and surely the game for Fnatic. It's a 4-2, sorry, exchange. Of course, that inhibitor already down in the top lane. That means there's going to be giant waves of minions coming in. And Fnatic will take the first win of the day in week 3 of the League Championship Series.
And it really seems like Fnatic had a playbook for the Wolves right there. They shut them down early game. They kept shutting down in the mid game and late game. They just played it so perfectly. Fnatic looking very strong, picking up their first win of week number 3.
Zhonya's from Peke on the fountain dive. Well, that's what we like to see. So there they are on your screen. They are the champions. They are the victors. And that is their first win. Of course, they do play Evil Geniuses later in the day. That will be the last game. But wow, good start from Fnatic. And Copenhagen Wolves have something to think about again. It's 0-6 for them now. And we see the sportsmanship between these teams. Always good to see. Teams do manage to congratulate one another. But to answer all the questions, we are going to go across to the analyst desk, and they have a new expert joining them. Let's see who it is.
Thanks a lot, Demon. With us at the analysis test, our very special guest today is Hosan. He actually asked us before we sat down, should I leave my hair up today or should I drop it down? How are you doing today, Hosan?
I'm doing well.
So we just saw, a very interesting game. I think we can say where everyone was like, "Oh, Wolves they've got Bjergsen back." That wasn't the game that Wolves were looking for their first game back with Bjergsen.
Yeah, it's like kind of Bjergsen couldn't do much. It's just all about the top dive. They were really tanky, and the main mistake was just Negodbro just ran out of the turret. They didn't take any turret damage, so it was clear 2v3 without turret. They just lost.
Well, we've actually got a couple of replays ready for that one, which Quickshot, who I didn't even introduce, but you already know him already, is looking dapper today. And what's the official colour of that shirt?
I knew you were going to say that. I think it's lavender. D-Man thinks it's lilac. So, it's up to you guys. But let's talk about the game, okay? 3.5 minutes into the matchup, we have, a 3 versus 1 tower dive. Let's jump into the replay right now. Talk us through this little pick here, Hosan. What happened? What could the Wolves have done? And why did it work for Fnatic?
Well, basically, Negodbro should just stay at the turret when he saw Cyanide coming. They would take some damage when Xin would just join them. And they would win. Like, right now, they're fighting without turret. They're just 2v3 in open space, losing, no one tanking turret. And now they just dive him with Volibear tankiness, so he can stay either. And he'll just get chased.
So the Wolves, maybe, not 100% sure how to deal with that situation. Behind the turret, in open space, taking a lot of damage. They didn't have the turret on the back. If they were closer to the turret, do you think they could have won that engagement?
I think yes, like, look at and rate that he almost died without turret. Like, maybe 1 hit or something. And basically, if he died, another one would take maybe AD, so he would stop attacking. They were kind of tanky, like, it's Xin and Singed. So basically, even with the 20 minions or something, I think they would have at least killed someone, so it would be still better.
Fair enough. And the funny thing is, at the end of that as well, Singe flung him into the tower. That was his escape route at that point, and running back towards tower. He flung Leono in towards the tower, who'd not got the tower aggro anyway.
They were out of range.
So, kind of putting another wall in, I suppose, another layer to that brick wall that he had to get through to get out of that one. But that was really the start. That was where we saw the first blood, which ended up being 2 kills, obviously, in the end, once they finally chased that Singe down. That damn Singe, always hard to track down. But a little bit later on, we have another replay ready where that's when, we saw that first thing happening, then it kind of happened again, but even worse for Wolves.
Yeah, well, this particular thing is just a couple minutes later. Once again, we're up in the top lane, and it's just a Fnatic pile-on, I think, is what D-Man was saying. Hosan, let's jump into the replay. What have Fnatic done here, and could the Wolves have survived in this situation?
Like, they saw Rated go to the bush, so the Fisher came too close. Right now, he just gets eaten by Leona. The Shen ulti comes, the Cyanide with Volibear runs in, and basically, they're just gonna get 5v1, like, Peke is on his way too.
Yeah, Peke comes in from a teleport.
Yeah, and just clear ace, nothing to do. And Rated tanking. Anyone could, like, Soul's tanky, Cyanide's tanky. Anyone could tank it. It was just 5v2, like, no one else was pushing on the map. There was no pressure. They could just go 5v2, push the 2 turrets, kill them again.
GG no re.
Yeah, GG no re.
Yeah, I mean, after that, we did see that a bit of I suppose we can call it a team fight that was 5-on-5 eventually in the Dragon, in the Baron area, but that was just 4 men taken down. We don't really need to show that again. I mean, was there anything they could do after those 2 instances we've just seen there, losing their bottom lane in the top lane, and also then obviously the first blood on Xin and Singe? What could they have done to try and come back in that game, in that scenario?
They should have tried, like, putting a jungler around the place all the time, so he could, like, come. Maybe just trying to push all the lanes, make some pressure. They went for Drake later, but it was just not really good since you have many minions top lane. We've seen that with the AAA game against EG, it was, maybe? Yeah, I think so. They basically left it, like, the minions got frozen and they could farm. But here they just pushed, they got second turret and other kills.
Yeah.
And it snowballed.
snowballed, and obviously that is the 6th loss in a row now for Copenhagen Wolves. They do have another game coming up today. How that's going to go, we'll of course find out later, but we're going to go over to the stage where Shox is waiting with a member of the winning team.
Yes, I'm here with Cyanide, jungler for Team Fnatic. Now, Cyanide, that level 1 fight, you got Xin Zhao to flash. Is that what enabled you to go for that first dive and actually snowball the entire game?
Well, I don't think it has much to do with it, but of course we knew that Xin Zhao doesn't have flash, so we could just focus him down. So I think it would have been the same, kinda, since we even had Pekka with TP still. So I don't think it made a huge impact in the end.
So was the strategy first and foremost to concentrate on that top lane, or?
With the TPs? Yeah, I guess, but it gives you a lot of mobility. Like, you can really counter gank well, and like if they try to engage, like 5 versus 3, you just port in and then totally screw them over. So it's just mostly about mobility and not the top lane.
For the junglers out there, you take teleport over Flash or Ghost on Volibear, for example. Isn't that maybe dangerous in the beginning?
Of course, it can end up like really backfiring. Like, you could not get a kill because you don't have flash, you could die and entirely screw your game. But I think the teleport is really good on Volibear because you have a lot of mobility with the Q already. Like, you can catch people most of the time, you can get away with the passive and the Q, so you don't really need flash or ghost so much.
Okay, now you racked up a lot of kills in that game as a team. Xpeke racked up a lot of kills. Is there a very big focus on KDA like there is over in the NA side in your team?
No, well, not really. Like, we have probably the worst KDAs of everyone because we started losing out all of our games and we just got destroyed by Gambit. So we have like 2 KDA or something and everyone else has 8 or something ridiculous. So.
Okay, so what do you have up your sleeve going against EG later? It's going to be the superstar matchup.
Yeah, of course, like we have something prepared for them, but we will see. It will depend on the picks a lot, like what we will do, and we will see. You will see.
Thank you very much, Cyanide. All right, now we're going into a short break in just a moment, but I'd like to remind you of our Twitter question: which LCS team shows the most potential? Tell us who you think shows the most promise and why at LOL eSports on Twitter, of course, #LCS. And remember, you can also shoot over your questions for our casters and our special guest at the analysis desk, Hosan from Dragonborns. Now, we saw Fnatic racking up yet another win in the European LCS, and when we come back, it's Gambit versus Giants. Can Gambit get revenge on the Spanish Armada, or will the Giants secure another win?